Welcome to the Fountains Studio Celebration. Before we get started, I'm especially excited about today's music. We're singing two familiar tunes with brand new lyrics by our friend, songwriter and theologian, Amanda Eudes Kessler. The melodies are America the Beautiful and Battle Hymn of the Republic, songs you already know, but the words invite us to hear them with fresh ears. One of the things the Wesley brothers understood deeply is how profoundly music shapes us. Long after we've forgotten a sermon, we'll still be humming a hymn. And that's why Methodism has always embraced new music and new words that help us grow in grace, justice, compassion, and love. In fact, take a look at these two old Methodist hymnals from the 1800s. This one is from the 1850s, first published in 1835. This one is from 1857 and is the 49th edition. But if you look closely, what is missing from these hymnals? There's no music, just the words. That's because people already knew the tunes. They simply paired new lyrics with melodies their particular communities loved. Early Methodists weren't attached to one official version of a song. They were constantly writing fresh words to familiar tunes because they believed the church needed language that could speak to the moment they were living in. In many ways, that's when Methodism was at its most creative and alive. So when we sing new lyrics to old melodies here at the Fountains, we're not abandoning our tradition, we're recovering one of its very best habits. And we're incredibly fortunate to have gifted writers like Amanda Eudes Kessler helping us continue that journey today. So don't just sing these new words, really listen to them. Let Amanda's lyrics give voice to hopes and convictions that I've already heard so many of you trying to put into words yourselves. And let these familiar melodies carry a fresh message that just might surprise you. So from wherever and whenever you're watching this, we're glad you're here. Let's get in the spirit.
Join us as we get in the spirit, adapted from Dwight D. Eisenhower's second inaugural address. Before all else, we speak of our common labor as a nation.
And ask that the blessing of God and the hopes in our hearts fashion the deepest prayers of our whole people.
May we pursue the right without self-righteousness.
May we know unity without conformity.
May we grow in strength without pride in self.
May we, in our dealings with all people of the earth, ever speak truth and serve justice.
May the light of freedom flame brightly until at last the darkness is no more.
May the turbulence of our age yield to a true time of peace.
When all peoples and nations shall share alike.
And honor the dignity of each and the common humanity of all.
Oh, beautiful for spacious hearts that welcome in the poor, that treat with hospitality all those within our shores. America, America, our work will build a land where empathy and sacrifice will answer love's demand. Oh, beautiful for immigrants from
reaffirm the Fountain's mission together.
As followers of Jesus,
We put love first.
As we come together acknowledging the 250th anniversary of our country, we come seeking the wisdom to resist the rising influence of those who would undermine its ideals and aspirations. Whenever distorted fusions of faith and patriotism sow seeds of division, exclusion, and hate, may we have the courage to lift our voices in affirmation of the diversity and pluralism that makes democracy richer and more beautiful. In the face of fear and creeping white supremacy and Christian nationalism, may we embrace the love and empathy required to challenge these dangerous creeds, to dismantle the walls they defend, and challenge the oppressive systems taking hold in our communities, even when those oppressive institutions are churches. As we affirm the reality that our actions speak volumes, may we act in solidarity with the marginalized, the silenced, and the weak, whose voices are stifled by ideologies of exclusion and privilege. In putting love first, may we work towards establishing a community where every soul is seen and respected, not despite our differences, but in celebration of our differences. In unity and solidarity, may we stand with conviction in answering Jesus' call to make the world a better place, resisting dangerous trends that base belonging on exclusion and hate. May our words be gracious, our actions compassionate, and a spirit of loving kindness be our way in the world.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God.
We now make it our earnest prayer that you, O God, would have the United States in your holy protection, that you would incline our hearts to entertain an earnest affection and love for one another, our fellow citizens.
Incline us all to justice, to love mercy, and to avail ourselves with charity, humility, and self-control, which were the divine characteristics of the divine author of our blessed religion, and without whose encouragement in these things, we can never hope to be a happy nation.
This is our prayer.
We offer this time of quiet openness, bringing our whole selves as we join together in saying a contemporary version of the prayer that Jesus taught his first followers. Loving Spirit, you love us like a good parent and are present in every aspect of our existence. May your nature become known and respected by all. May your joy, peace, wholeness, and justice be the reality for everyone as we live by the Jesus way. Give us all that we really need to live every day for you. And forgive us our failures as we forgive others for their failures. Keep us from doing those things which are not of you, and cause us always to be centered on your love. For you are the true reality in this our now and in all our future. In the Jesus way we pray. Amen.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God.
One of the main objectives at annual conference is to vote on things that affect our church, districts, and conference. This 42nd regular session of the Desert Southwest Annual Conference was much less oppositional than previous years. Most items passed with very little to no deliberation. The body approved significant legislation with bills that should help further inclusion among our Pacific Island and Hispanic communities.
One of the things that struck me most at annual conference was that without comparing notes, Bishop Carlo, a Filipino immigrant, Bishop Dottie, an Hispanic American, and our keynote speaker Tyler Sitt, a gay Chinese American pastor, all preached essentially the same message. For more than 40 years, the United Methodist Church spent an enormous amount of energy arguing over who belonged and who didn't. Now that we've come through that season, they challenged us to stop looking inward and get back to the work Jesus actually gave us, to look outward toward a world that desperately needs us. So the message wasn't really a new vision at all. It was a reminder of what we signed up for in the first place. And I have to say, that's a church I'm excited to be a part of.
2026 is the 30th anniversary of the Order of Deacons and the 50th anniversary of Volunteers in Mission. It's the 70th anniversary of women's ordination in the Methodist tradition. Women doing such things as starting a hospital, finishing out her husband's appointment, leading a successful building campaign through World War II, and growing a church instead of closing it, and also being elected a bishop. Hooray!
Hi, I'm Ray Spooner. I'm the United Methodist Men's Conference President, and I was attending the annual conference in Sun City as a monitor. And the monitor role is that of making sure that we're adhering to our inclusivity and using language that's appropriate to the conference. So I had 2 sessions where I was a monitor and got to listen to everything and report on any issues that might be occurring in terms of inclusivity and language.
I'm Dee Dee Rudolphi, and I was one of the representatives to annual conference this year. Our theme was a healthy church for a healthy world. At conference, it was so interesting, the different programs and the different ideas that they shared. We felt like the Fountains was already doing a lot of the things, almost like we're a little bit ahead of the curve. And I give a lot of credit to our Pastor David for the vision that he has for the Fountains and our inclusiveness. And with that, I'd like to share the good news that David Felten has been appointed to the Fountains for his 21st year.
At the Fountains, we are agents of change. We know that it's not enough to just believe, so we take action.
We strive to work together as followers of Jesus to be there for one another and find creative ways to make the world a more just and peaceful place.
So even in this virtual community, we hope you'll take the initiative to support the Fountains financially.
To get to our secure giving page, you can use the QR code on the screen. Go to the give.weputlovefirst.org or press the Donate Here button on the Fountains homepage, weputlovefirst.org.
You can also download the Vanco mobile app, search the Fountains, and follow the instructions.
And of course, you can always send a check.
The Fountains continues to be a catalyst for putting love first in Fountain Hills and beyond. May we give with joy, confident that we are taking part in living out Jesus' call on our lives.
Thank you for your support.
You won't live to see the future that you fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day. If the work is never over, then how do you keep marching anyway? Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn girl picks it up in a picket line over and over again, and you join in the chorus of centuries chanting to her. The path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know, but keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. Keep marching on, keep marching on, keep marching on, keep marching on. And remember every mother that you came from. Learn as much from our successes, our mistakes. Don't forget you're merely one of many others on the journey every generation makes. We did not end in justice, and neither will you. But still we made strides, so we know you can do changes with our incomplete power and use it for good, 'cause there's so much to do. The gains will feel small and the loss is too large. Keep marching, keep marching. You really agree with whoever's in charge. Keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. Keep marching on, 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 keep marching on. us the gift of choosing to live with hearts full of gratitude.
If there was ever a biblical passage that feels as though it was written for the United States in 2026, I think this might be it. Everybody is talking about freedom. Politicians, churches, advocacy groups, and advertising agencies. But there's a problem. For all the yammering about freedom, almost no one bothers to actually define it. And freedom means very different things to the enslaved or oppressed person than it does to the plantation owner or tyrant. Real freedom is not always welcome, especially to the people who profit from everyone else remaining afraid. You might even say that to anyone whose power depends on keeping everyone else afraid of one another. Freedom is downright dangerous. And that's the conversation Paul is trying to have with the churches in Galatia. The Galatians were not living into Paul's message the way he had hoped. After embracing the idea that God's love was not something to be earned, but was simply a gift to be received, their first question was not, wow, what has this gift made possible? It was, what can I get away with? Paul is so angry that in the passage right after today's passage, he clearly stops dictating, grabs the stylus out of his secretary's hand and scrawls, "See with what large letters I write in my own hand." Likewise, in Eugene Peterson's paraphrase of today's passage, you can almost hear Paul throwing up his hands in frustration. God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want and destroy the very community that we've established. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. There it is in one clear sentence. The answer to the question every generation eventually has to answer. Not simply what is freedom, but what is freedom for?
Our words of wisdom are from Galatians chapter 5, verses 13 through 15.
It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to do and destroy your freedom.
Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. For everything we know about God's word is summed up in a single sentence: love others as yourself.
That's an act of true freedom. If you bite and ravage each other, watch out. In no time at all, you will be annihilating each other. And where will your precious freedom be then?
Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Thanks be to God.
I like words, and I've really enjoyed following the exploits of this small but determined movement that's trying to rescue perfectly good words from extinction. Not because anybody actually needs to say overmorrow instead of the day after tomorrow, although it does save a couple of syllables, but because language loses something when really good words disappear. Why should we have to say that smell after it rains when our ancestors already gave us petrichor? Why complain about all those people on the internet who have opinions about things far beyond their expertise when we have the perfectly good word, ultra-crepidarian? One of my favorites in this season of unbridled political corruption is snollygoster. a vintage American word for a politician with no guiding principles beyond personal ambition. That and cockalorum, a little man with an exaggerated opinion of himself, really deserve a comeback, don't you think? The interesting thing is that language is so fluid. Words fall out of use because somebody found them inconvenient, or somebody else discovered they could make them mean something entirely different. Some words simply wear out, but others get hijacked. Every generation inherits beautiful words. Words like liberty, justice, patriotism, faith, family, love. And every generation discovers that somebody has quietly begun using those same words to mean something entirely different. And that's why Paul is so worked up in Galatians. He's defending the definition of freedom from those who would turn its meaning to their own devices, just like we have to do today. America has always loved the idea of freedom. We've built monuments to it, written songs about it, fought wars over it, but we've never entirely agreed on what it means. Among Americans today, the ascendant meaning of freedom is, nobody tells me what to do. I don't need anybody. I can do it myself. It's that old American myth of rugged individualism, the lone cowboy riding into the sunset with nothing but his horse and his magnificent self-sufficiency. It may seem like a compelling story, but it's not Paul's story. Paul would tell you there's no such thing as a solitary Christian. Everything he writes assumes relationship to neighbor, to the body, to community, bearing one another's burdens, rejoicing with those who rejoice, weeping with those who weep. For Paul, freedom is never the absence of responsibility. It's about experiencing the kind of connection with others that is only possible in the absence of fear. Love opens us up. Fear isolates us. And that's what every authoritarian movement depends on, persuading people that everyone outside their own little circle is someone to be feared. The terrorists planted algae in the reflecting pool propaganda isolates us. They're eating the dogs conspiracy theories isolate us. And isolated people are remarkably easy to manipulate. Love does exactly the opposite. Love keeps introducing us to people we didn't know belonged in our circle. That's why freedom has always frightened despots. The moment ordinary people stop fearing one another and begin caring for one another, the foundations of empire begin to shake. You can watch that really unfold across American history. Just look at Thomas Jefferson, one of the most fascinating and frustrating figures in American history. A man who enslaved over 600 human beings, who even enslaved his own children, born by his slave mistress Sally Hemings, wrote those magnificent, world-changing words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal. I've often wondered how he could hold those two opposing realities at bay in his own head. And then I learned another part of Jefferson's story that almost never gets told. In Jefferson's original draft of the Declaration of Independence, he included a blistering 168-word condemnation of slavery and the slave trade, calling it execrable commerce, an assemblage of horrors, and a violation of the most sacred rights of life and liberty. But the delegates from South Carolina and Georgia refused to support the declaration if the anti-slavery language remained. So, one of the strongest condemnations of slavery one could possibly hope for, and one I encourage you to Google and read for yourself, was disappeared before the ink was dry. And so the maddening contradictions about equality and freedom are not Jefferson's alone. It belongs to all of us from the very beginning. The founders could unanimously declare that all are created equal, but couldn't bring themselves to ask what those words required. And that's been our story ever since. Every generation has had to rescue that sentence from people determined to make it mean freedom for some instead of freedom for all. When Frederick Douglass stood up on the 4th of July and asked, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" he wasn't rejecting the Declaration of Independence. He was trying to hold America accountable to become the nation it claimed to be. He wasn't being cynical. He was speaking the truth in love. And that's exactly what the Hebrew prophets were up to. Amos wasn't rooting against Israel when he called for justice to roll down like waters. Jesus wasn't condemning Jerusalem when he wept over the city. They loved their people too much to let them settle for an illusion. And in the midst of the struggle to end Jim Crow, segregation, and achieve basic civil rights for African Americans, that great American prophet James Baldwin reminded us, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Families know that's true. Churches know that's true. Recovering alcoholics know that's true. Eventually, even some nations discover it's true. Every country likes to tell stories that make it proud. Every country also carries stories it would rather forget. And loving your country isn't pretending those stories don't exist. Loving your country means believing it is strong enough to hear the truth, because truth has never been the enemy of freedom. Back in 2016, the Treasury Department announced plans to move Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill. As an enslaver of hundreds of African Americans and the architect of the Trail of Tears, which killed countless Native Americans, he was to be replaced by escaped slave and Underground Railroad conductor Harriet Tubman. The redesign was shelved during the first Trump administration, resumed under the Biden administration, but is obviously a current non-starter. But the question remains, what's in your wallet? Which understanding of freedom do you want representing our country? The version that profited from slavery and oppression, or a freedom that cost something, risked something, and sought to extend freedom to others? Harriet Tubman wasn't extraordinary because she escaped slavery. She was extraordinary because she went back, walking into the very nightmare she had escaped over and over again. Every trip, an act of holy defiance against a system that insisted freedom belonged only to a few. Somewhere along her journey, she discovered what Paul was trying to tell the Galatians. Freedom isn't something you possess. Freedom is something you share. Freedom that ends with you alone isn't really freedom. Writing to Tubman years later, Frederick Douglass contrasted their ministries. His own work happened in daylight, with crowds gathered to hear him. His words were applauded. Newspapers printed his speeches. But Tubman's work happened under cover of darkness, shepherding frightened, exhausted people through forests and swamps, toward a future they could barely imagine. Douglas wrote to her, "The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and of your heroism." Suddenly, Paul's words don't sound like stuffy theology anymore. They sound like encouraging words guiding frightened souls through the dark of night. Use your freedom to serve one another in love. And history keeps raising up people who understood that sentence with a fierce conviction. John Lewis didn't walk onto the Edmund Pettus Bridge anticipating the likelihood of his skull being fractured because he hated his country. He did it because he loved his country too much to abandon it to its worst instincts. The way he put it was the almost mischievous phrase of getting into good trouble. But behind that idea was an ancient biblical conviction. The Hebrew midwives got into good trouble. Daniel got into good trouble. The apostles got into good trouble. Jesus, frankly, seemed almost incapable of avoiding good trouble. He kept healing on the wrong day, eating with the wrong people, healing the wrong people, forgiving the wrong people, and overturning problematic tables. If you're paying attention, it's almost like you can't help but suspect that faithfulness and respectability are incompatible. After spending a lifetime studying how democracies quietly slide toward authoritarianism, historian Timothy Snyder begins his little book on tyranny with 4 words: do not obey in advance. Don't surrender your conscience before anyone asks for it. Don't edit your compassion because you're afraid someone might criticize it. Don't apologize for kindness because somebody has decided kindness is weakness. Dean of Boston University's Marsh Chapel and Methodist mystic Howard Thurman spent a lifetime exploring a similar phenomenon, that fear has a curious way of shrinking us long before anyone actually forces us to become smaller. Fear narrows the soul, convincing us there isn't enough dignity to go around, not enough security to share, not enough belonging for everyone. Fear clenches our hands. Love opens them. For Paul, freedom produces larger hearts, not smaller ones, which is exactly how Jesus undermines Caesar's efforts as well. With a big heart and open hands, Jesus gathered the broadest collection of rejects and misfits, fishermen, tax collectors, women no one listened to, and children everyone overlooked. A few months ago, I was on the God Show again with Pat McMahon, and here's what you may not know. Pat revels in trying to hit me up with a question that totally throws me off. This time it was, well, if Jesus were around today, what political party would he be in? Instead of a snappy comeback, I kind of sputtered around with no good answer. Pat 1, David 0. It was only after I left the studio that it dawned on me. A good rabbi answers that kind of question with another question. I should have channeled some John Fugelsang and asked Pat, let's see, a dark-skinned, homeless Palestinian Jew who organized giving food away for free, healed people without a copay, welcomed immigrants, empowered women, loved his enemies, and insisted that whatever we do for the most vulnerable is what really matters. What party does that sound like to you? Right? I don't know about you, but If that party existed, I'd join it, because that's the whole point of the gospel. Not getting you into heaven someday where you're issued a harp and a pair of wings. It's becoming part of a movement here and now that's learning how to overcome fear with love. Why? Because first, genuinely free people become increasingly impossible to frighten. And two, history keeps reminding us that when people stop being afraid, empires start getting nervous. Once love becomes stronger than fear, empires tremble. And for those who doubt change is possible, don't forget the wisdom of Indian author and activist Arundhati Roy, who reminds us, another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. And it all comes down to variations on Paul's admonition to the Galatians. Jefferson pointed toward it, even if he couldn't fully live it. Douglass demanded that America honor it. Baldwin reminded us that truth is the doorway through which freedom must pass. Tubman showed that she knew true freedom wasn't achieved until everyone shared it. John Lewis crossed a bridge because love required courage. Howard Thurman warned us that fear is humanity's oldest prison. Timothy Snyder reminds us not to surrender our conscience before anyone even asks. Different centuries, different callings, one question. What is freedom for? And it's hard to beat Paul's straightforward answer. Use your freedom to serve one another in love. Freedom is not about rampant individualism or getting your own way. Freedom is what happens when love liberates us from fear so completely that we become open to and welcoming of others' needs and concerns. So on this 250th anniversary, give thanks for this remarkable, unfinished experiment we call America. But after the fireworks are cleaned up and the bunting has been folded away, someone, somewhere, will still need your kindness, your courage, and your compassion. Someone will need your freedom. And Paul has already told us what to do with it. Use your freedom to serve one another in love. And that has always been the most dangerous freedom of all. Be well. In closing, I want to share a short 4-minute video that one of our studio readers today, Scott Cron, had a part in creating. It fit with today's message so well that I couldn't not show it to you. You can also find it on creator Jason Lindsay's YouTube page and on the Fountains Facebook page. Thanks for sharing, Scott.
We taught it to our kids before they could spell. Hand on the heart. Liberty. Justice. For all. Nobody told them yet what those words ask or what they cost. We hung it where everybody could see. Over the front door. Out by the barn. On the pole at the school. We all agreed to those words, We never agreed on who the all was for. That word, all, gets thin in places. It gets thin where the plant closed and never opened back up, where the main street went dark, store by store, where the work is full-time and the rent still wins. It gets thin where the same flag flew over the people it freed and the people it didn't, where the first people here are still the last ones counted, where you can be born here and still get asked where you're really from, where some people are still waiting for the all to mean them. But thin isn't torn, and worn isn't done. We promised liberty and fenced it off. We promised justice and sold it to those who could pay. We promised all and kept changing who that meant. We've saluted over towns we'd already given up on. It's not hiding. It's right there on the street. There's a gap between what we said and how we live. We keep saluting right across it. A country isn't the promise on the pole. It isn't the hard part down on the street. It's the stretch in between, and that's where we live. We didn't make those words come true, but we're the ones holding them now. The job's not done, and it was never finished. What's left is ours to finish. It's the door that finally opens, the main street that lights back up. The first people counted first. The same flag, finally meaning the same thing to everybody under it. The all that finally means all.
Hey, if you liked what you heard today, buy me a coffee. Thanks.
Creation.
Join me in these words of challenge and blessings as we go. Are we not still dreaming of a world of peace?
Where all live in freedom and all hatred is ceased?
Are we not still hoping for a fair new day?
One for which all suffering long before did fade?
On this day, we're dreaming of a world made bright.
Freed from all its sorrows, living into light.
May we feel the courage stirring deep within.
May we cast the vision and this work begin.